You're live.
Good evening. It's now 6:30 and we'll call the meeting of the Calvert County Police Accountability Board to order. We do have a quorum and let you know that this meeting is being recorded. You have in front of you the agenda for this evening. If you have no changes, I'll entertain a motion, or if you have changes, we can discuss them.
I move to approve the agenda.
It's been moved to approve the agenda for August 23rd, 2023. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been second. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. In terms of the chair update, first congratulate the 3 members that were reappointed. That's a good sign. There are 3 that were first year term was up, and you're all reappointed. So congratulations. I think it's through June of 26, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just the ACC, the Administrative Charging Committee, continues to meet monthly, and all the cases complaints have been reviewed. And as of today, we do not have any pending cases for review. So we're caught up, and that's good news. We had mentioned outreach activities at the last couple of meetings, and we put together a presentation that the chair of the ACC and myself, we go out to the public and share with them what we do, and give them an opportunity to ask any questions or clarifications regarding the PAB or ACC, or in this case, trial board also. So we've had one meeting with the League of Women Voters. This was in, I think it was in either late May or early June. I think it was late May that we had the meeting with the League of Women Voters. We do have a meeting scheduled with the NAACP on September 21, and we also in the process of exploring setting up a meeting with the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, to go over what we do and to answer any questions that they may have also. So that's underway. The meeting we had with the League of Women Voters went very well. One of the questions they had was the term, because it says you can't serve more than 6 years, I think it was. And we've clarified that. For instance, the 3 that were reappointed to their term, you can actually end up serving 7 years because of the way it falls. When you come up for your 3rd reappointment, you would not have 6 years, so you could be very well reappointed again. Last week, I was invited to serve on a panel at the Maryland Association of Counties conference in Ocean City, and the panel related to the police accountability process and lessons learned up to this point. So I served representing PABs. We had 2 attorneys, one from Cecil County and one from Anne Arundel County, and we had someone from the FOP on the panel that was moderated by a delegate from Prince George's County. I think it went very well. It was a good interaction in terms of, we have a good story to tell in terms of the fact that we started PAB, first meeting in August. ACC, we were one of the 3 counties that were trained the first time in October of last year, and we were able to go through all of our cases. We also talked about the fact that we have an MOU with the state's attorney. We are discussing an MOU with the sheriff's office, and we have on the agenda tonight to present that. So we're making a lot of progress building relationships, and I did emphasize that as a member of that panel, that it's very important that we do build the relationships because we both serve the public. Let's see, in terms of, we did get one request to look at our MOU. Charles County did request to look at the MOU. Baltimore, I think it was Baltimore City or Baltimore County, they had 900 cases. And so they have reduced that by like a little over 200, but there's a long ways to go to get to a manageable amount. Their ACC started meeting in June, just June this year. So they have a lot to do to catch up on that piece. We do have we had a weekly planning meeting. This is with the ACC chair, myself, and staff, and we changed that to bi-weekly. We don't need to meet every week. We also have a bi-weekly, we call it legal and staff meeting, where we meet with the attorney and also staff to go over any items that we need to clarify. And we also meet periodically with the sheriff's office to just make sure we're all on the same page, and those meetings have been very effective. Also, in terms of the outreach presentation with the presentation at MACO, we appreciate staff for all the work they've done to put that together. There was actually one county that talked about the fact that they have no staff to support them for the PAB and ACC. So I can see where that would be a challenge, just to try to keep up with everything that's going on. So that's my report. Any questions for me? Comments? Okay. Then we have next the complaint report, just to give you a summary. You have it in your packet. For those who are watching or will watch this video later, for the first year, we have a total of 59 complaints. And for almost 8 months this year, we have 21. So you can see when we first went in, there was a high number, and I don't consider this really a high number. But this year, that number has come down significantly. And of those complaints, there were 10 that were not eligible for review. And what happens if we received a complaint that involved an incident that happened before July 1st of 2022, we can't look at it, because the law went into effect on July 1, 2022. Excuse me. The ACC reviewed 52 cases, and cases resulting in administrative charges, we had 11. And I already mentioned that we don't have any pending cases right now. Any questions on that report? Okay. State Police. Thank you very much for coming in to give us an update.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you having me, welcoming me here, and allowing us this opportunity as well.
Sure.
One of the goals of the Maryland State Police is to support its citizens and the communities in which they live, and there's no better way to do that than by building trust. So although we're not specifically under the purview of the PAB here in this county, I live here, I've worked here for a long time, and the relationship that we have with the community is important to me, as well as to my department. So that's why we're here.
Thank you.
So what I did is I prepared a summary of complaints that compared the first quarter of this year versus the second quarter. And we were here in May. We discussed most of those from the first quarter, so I'll just highlight those from the second quarter for this meeting. In the second quarter of this year, for citizen complaints, we had one unfounded and one that is still open and under investigation. And internal complaints, I had 2 that were sustained, and that was during the first quarter. But then during the second quarter, we've had 1 sustained and 3 that are still open and under investigation. Of those with a finding, some were already presented to the ACC, some have not been. It's important to note, though, that our findings in these cases have been the same as the ACC found them to be as well.
Okay.
So there's been no discrepancies there. And I just listed briefly some of those complaints from the first and second quarter this year. I would like to note that the one false report from May 28th of this year, that trooper is currently being terminated for that. And we also had one resignation effective August the 1st of this year that concluded a case from last year involving a false report. And that employee resigned in lieu of termination.
Okay.
On the next slide, it's just a summary of other incidents that arise from our calls for service. In the second quarter, we had 3 use of force cases. They were all justified and conformed to policy. We had 1 vehicle pursuit, which was justified and conformed to policy. We had 3 non-preventable departmental accidents and 1 that's still under investigation for a finding on that. If that comes back to be preventable, then we will file an internal complaint, obviously, on that one to weigh and levy a disciplinary action. And for a show of force, we had 1 that was justified and conformed to policy in the second quarter as well. On the following slide, I put this information together to show that out of all of these incidents, those were the complaints that we found on our own, which far outweighed those presented to us by citizens. But I think it also highlights the good work that the men and women are doing every day. That's a staggering number of citizen contacts for a small number of incidents and/or complaints.
What are SEROs?
Safety Equipment Repair Orders.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also did want to highlight, after the last meeting when we presented our numbers and then Captain Parrott and Sheriff Cox presented their numbers, there was a difference. And I don't want there to be a perception that we do anything differently necessarily than they do. I wanted to highlight that the reason you may see higher numbers with them is that the size of their office far outweighs that of ours. They're easily 5 times or more larger than we are. So they're going to have far many more
Right.
citizen contacts than we do. So although our numbers are smaller than theirs, it doesn't necessarily indicate anything other than necessarily the size of our departments.
Okay.
One
Right.
question,
Yes.
the numbers that you talked about, is that statewide?
No, sir, this is
Calvert
just for
County.
Calvert
Just
County.
for Calvert, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That number would probably be larger.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's,
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions or comments?
And what period of time is this? That's noted on here?
This is actually from January 1st of this year until 1:30 today, this
Okay.
afternoon.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is a question for the sheriff and assistant sheriff. We had some discussion about sharing some similar information like that. So if you wanted to do something like that, you're welcome to do it.
Good afternoon, Ward. How you doing? Good
Mm-hmm.
afternoon. Sheriff Cox here, speaking on speaking on Mr. Perrin. Myself and Lieutenant Colonel Payne have developed a quarterly report,
Mm-hmm.
and that we share that publicly. That's on our website. It's on our Facebook, social media stuff, which has been a really good thing for showing the public what we do and what we
Right.
have done throughout the 2 quarters as me being elected sheriff. I just want to say we've came a long way. I think we'll do good things together.
Yeah.
A lot of new faces. I'll say hello. I want to thank you for. Recruitment's an issue with policing right now,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the board members has brought me a young gentleman that seems very squared away, and we look at hiring him in the next academy. So, just want to say thank you. I think we're all proactive together in this.
Yeah.
But those quarterly report numbers are on our report, and I can share that with the board also. You can research right on our page.
Yeah, we could, if you want it to be part of this meeting, you can present them the same way the state police did.
I can do
We
that.
have some of
Yeah.
them, but calls for service in 2022 was 76,203.
Okay.
And so we average between 70 and 90,000 calls for service a year. That sits, it varies, but what those are. But that was 2022. 2023 we're still developing, so we can put those together. It's easy.
So it's an opportunity for us to get those
Absolutely.
as part of the record.
I'll
which I
send it
think
to,
will be good.
and disseminate that with you this evening,
Great, thank you.
if I get any sleep tonight.
Oh, you get to see. The next item is the MOU, unless you have some questions for the sheriff right now. Okay. The next item is the MOU we've been working on. We've had three members, actually four members of this board, Dawn, Suzanne, and Leslie, and myself, along with John Norris and Scott Deegan from the ACC and representatives from your office, Sheriff Cox. And we had a couple meetings we've worked through. And right now, it's to a point where I think we all agree that what's in it is what we would be willing to sign. So, any comments on that piece?
Yeah, I'll review with my staff this week, and we'll send a response to the board.
Okay.
I would like to say it was it's been a good collaborative, I guess. Kind of came together, the meetings were, as we moved along in them, I think we found that we had the same goals, and I think procedural wise, I think it's gonna actually help a little bit, so it's good to hear that other places are actually looking at it, so I
Yeah.
want to commend you for putting that together, because we were a little apprehensive, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, with the MOU, because we didn't know how that was gonna tie us in, I guess, to things or not, you know what I mean, so it seems to be it's gonna be a good thing, so.
And one of the things that we did in terms of delaying the start of those meetings, I think you were the one that suggested this, was to wait until the legislative session was over, just to see if there would be any impact on the,
Yeah, it's
the
always been
overall
evolving,
public
and
safety.
that's still evolving today, so, yes.
Yeah, so that's gonna, they're already talking about suggested changes in the upcoming legislative session.
Yes, sir.
So this is a living document, so we would have to go back and just go through. Let me summarize what's here a little bit so that the public know the kinds of things that we talked about in putting this together. It talks about, one of the things in this agreement is that we would have a means to accept and track police misconduct. We do have that in place. And just want to say, this lays the foundation for people that may come behind us, that we do have an agreement, at least a starting point in terms of what we may need to change going forward. But that's one of the things that we would get, that if you received a complaint, you would get it to us within 72 hours generally, and we have an obligation by the regulation to get it to you in 72 hours. We do have a online system in which we work with. Let's see. We also talked about the kinds of complaints. There are some complaints that wouldn't be appropriate for the ACC to review. If there's a complaint about your haircut,
Yes, sir.
Colonel,
Same boat.
that would not be appropriate. Same for myself. But let's see, what else here can we highlight?
On that, do things like speeding and minor things that are really outside the scope of what we should investigate, does that fall under that?
Speeding is kind of unique because
I mean,
If-
we don't know what they're doing. It just seems silly for us to investigate something when that's kind of their job, is to get places quickly.
yeah, but it has to do with if you have the emergency lights on, then the speeding
Right,
would
but
not
does,
apply. But if you don't, then you have to abide by the same regulation that citizens abide by.
right, but does that fall under the technical infractions where they would handle that as opposed to being reviewed?
Now, if there was a complaint and someone was speeding 10, 15 miles over the speed limit, it may come to us.
It would still,
In
okay.
their investigation, they'll probably sustain it if we have documentation that shows that. And we've had a couple of cases where, depending on, I guess in some vehicles, you do have the GPS kind of software system that can track the speed, and we just went through a couple of cases with that. And we sustained the actual speed, and we knew the speed limit is when that sheriff deputy came through. So we did, yeah,
Gotcha.
we do still look at those. We did clarify a lot of that where if we don't have the technical equipment to actually verify it, it's very difficult. It's like one person said something, another person said. So we're pushing for, I think Sheriff Cox, you mentioned last time, for the, that GPS kind of software in the vehicles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still researching that, you know, in today's climate, it's, budgeting is always an issue, so, we're trying to, spend the taxpayers' money as best as I can, but the GPS software will be tracked, and, actually the way that it's developed is that if they're over the speed limit, it sends an email to a supervisor so they can
Yeah.
identify where they're going to. We had an incident where a bus driver was in distress, you know, the deputy was in the area, but that didn't call for a priority one response, so we were working through that too as well. So something that a deputy has to get to, but it was over the speed limit. But the bus driver was very grateful that he was there in time to help her out. So we deal with that when we work through that,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful and thankful for that. And I know the deputies too are as well.
Yeah, one of the other things in here is that if there is evidence, physical evidence that's, of course, we exchange information online through a secure system, and if there's a need to see physical evidence, it's detailed in here how we handle that. So that's one thing we have here. Also, we codified in here, although it also is the regulation, is that we have, the ACC has 30 days to review a case and come up with a decision. When we went through training, that was in training, and somehow all of us didn't see it. So we had to go back and look at those cases again. We're up to date now, so that's not really a problem. But this has a lot of good information in it that we've agreed to so that we can better serve the public together through this MOU. The members, any comments? No? Suzanne?
It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, thank you. I mean, I think we're all part of developing, drafting this, so
Yeah. Dawn?
It was a pleasure to work with you guys.
absolutely.
It looks very good.
I thought it went very smoothly. We had our positions at the beginning, valid positions, and we worked through those and came up with a really good agreement. This agreement would be part of the packet for the night, so the public will be able to look at it. Is that correct? Would it be on our website or?
Yes.
Okay. The next, the steps would be, if you've reviewed it and you're okay with it, you sign it, Sheriff, I would sign it. It goes to the ACC for Mr. Deacon, Scott Deacon to sign, and then it goes to the commissioners as an FYI, so that they know that we have an agreement together. Okay. Any comments more on this?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. Any,
Ask for a motion to authorize you to sign.
say again?
You ask for a motion to authorize you to sign on behalf of the Police Accountability Board
Oh, okay.
as drafted.
All right. The county attorney, we need a motion to authorize me to sign this on behalf of the PAB.
I motion to,
It's been motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Leslie. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's done. Okay. I'll do that.
Mr. Chair, just, the third page is 302, and it should be 303, bottom right.
Actually, what's in your packet for tonight is not the signature copy. We have
Okay.
corrected
Yeah,
that.
that's corrected already.
And we have
Thanks for pointing that out.
corrected one typo on the second line of paragraph 13, where we added which. So it reads, and to discuss cases in which the ACC may be considering administratively charging.
Again, I thank everyone for working on that and getting that done. That was the last MOU we needed to get in place. Under new business, we have, what we normally do at the quarterly meetings is look at any opportunity that may have come up since our last meeting, as a result of the, ACC reviewing cases and making suggestions as what could actually improve, either through a policy or just training. So this time, we had two policies that, recommendation. One was the body-worn camera, and that relates to, the recommendation is to review and communicate the importance of adhering to the body-worn camera policy, doing all interaction with the public. And I think, Captain Parrott, we've clarified exactly what that means. It's related more to secondary employment.
Yes, sir. And just so maybe I can speak on that just a minute.
Okay.
Just so we're all on the same page, that the body worn camera by law isn't required yet anyway by law until July 2025. But we were very proactive in this department. We went with body worn cameras way before
Right.
anybody in the state really. And we've had them, we've been using them, and we've been working through some of those issues. What we're limited by is, when you start talking about secondary employment and things outside of the scope, is the technical portion of the camera. So the camera itself has a battery life. There's issues like that. And they are very expensive. So we're at about $300,000 for a county. It's where a big portion of those speed camera monies go, to be honest with you. They go right to that. The camera policies, camera themselves, and the storage. Storage is the biggest issue. So I've heard things like, maybe we should get 2 cameras, maybe we should get those things. It all comes down to money. It's very expensive. When we move into this new portion of the law where we require more people to have them, we're gonna be approaching $400,000. So that's just small Calvert County. I can't even imagine what PG County, some of these other places are spending.
Right.
So secondary employment is a little bit of an issue. We work 12-hour shifts. If you have a 12-hour battery and you go to work somewhere else, you go to work off, you can't get it back to the charger. You can't get the extra storage. It's just, we don't make the batteries, we don't make the camera. We're tied to that.
So I don't know whether when there is secondary employment, and it is a sheriff deputy doing that, is there a line where they're not acting as a deputy? I think that's 24/7, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Correct. Yeah. So we have to prioritize and pick and choose where we can get that 12 hours worth of camera time out of and things like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what.
So when they end their shift, they dock it, so that makes the download with a charge.
Mm-hmm.
And if they come into work, go home, they don't have the camera, they identify that on the radio. I'm going to this call. They tell the dispatcher they don't have the radio, so it's documented.
Right.
So, like
So
you
you-
said, it is technology, it's what we're dealing with. It's getting better since we started. But like it has a 12-hour battery shift and they're working
Right.
12-hour shifts, it's becoming an issue, but
Yeah. I think this one, we were able to work through it.
Yeah,
The person said,
I think we're good.
Yeah,
with
I
that.
a lot of the
That was-
secondary employments have good camera systems that
yeah, and that's what we were
display
able to
actually
use.
happened, so.
Yeah,
In a perfect world, would I like to have them at all times? I would, yes, because I think we've proven since myself and Lieutenant Colonel Payne, we started that program together while working in patrol, and I think it does good for the deputy and the citizen. We've had a lot of positive feedback from that.
right. I think body-worn cameras, speaking as a member of the ACC, it gives you the evidence that you need to make a clear decision.
And
I don't know how you would
yeah,
do
now we
that.
have the device on the holster now. We just purchased those.
Yeah,
Another cost. So once their weapon is removed from the holster, it's automatically kicks on.
Oh, okay,
So, that's another feature that we added to that, so.
okay. I think we need to continue to look for opportunities to improve cameras and the kind of tools that you get to do your job, and we need to make sure that we can get that money for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the other one is crisis.
Can I ask a question about the fire?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Brian.
What ranks or what positions are required to have it?
Right now, it's all of patrol, and then, anybody that is in a position that has, a lot of public contact. And so we've had to pick and choose some of that, and, some of our deputies just don't have them yet. What's the total we have, Brent, do you know?
We probably have a little over 80 cameras.
And we require them.
Probably a little more than that, 'cause we had some CIP and our SOT guys, but.
So we search warrants too as well, they carry them too as well, detectives, our team guys.
But it would be the rank, I believe, it would be the rank of under under our commanders, ranks,
Okay.
under our first
Thank
officer.
you.
That would be the goal of everyone, but we do have some that don't have them, just because they're in admin positions, and then, we have to prioritize where they go.
Okay.
And then our school resource officers, they don't have them because, I guess the schools don't allow them to have them in the school, so that's another issue.
Yeah, because of the age of the kids.
Correct.
Yeah, you can't have them. Okay. Any other questions on that one? Divided one camera. The second one is, and I've talked to Captain Parrott offline about this one, that this is crisis training and de-escalation techniques for suicide persons. And this did not point to anything that the officers involved did wrong. I just want to point that out. It was not. It was just looking at some of the things. It looks like there should be a little more emphasis on training in one area or another, and because of the sensitivity of this one, we're going to get with Captain Parrott and give him the details on it. But it looks like it's just the wording when you do de-escalation.
Okay.
I know it's kind of vague, but yes, I am, because of the sensitivity of this one.
Just on a side note, I took some notes today as I saw it on the agenda, and because I knew that would be kind of part of it without getting into that issue itself, just so we're all aware. And in the academy, it's required for all deputies to do the de-escalation and the crisis intervention. We also do it in service. In 2023, as a matter of fact, it was required in service. They did some scenarios. They had to do some de-escalation techniques and things like that. Our agency requires everybody to attend a 40-hour crisis intervention class. That class is certified. We also allow correctional officers, dispatchers, call takers, our civilians to take that. And that has to do with dealing with individuals with mental illness or other conditions that cause them to behave unpredictably or dangerously. Like I said, it's a 40-hour class. It consists of recognizing behaviors indicated with behavioral health crisis, safely resolving those incidents, things like that. That's a pretty long, 40 hours is a pretty long time to take somebody and put them in, but we do it. We're at about 80% of the department. We actually have the lead on that, and we actually run the training here in Calvert County down at the Boones Island facility. We also do defensive tactics training every quarter. That has de-escalation techniques in it by design. We also actively participate with the health department, the local health department advisory council, the community health roundtable, the local behavioral health authority crisis subcommittee, and the regional crisis intervention team. And that's just off the top of my head. Those are meetings that we have pretty much weekly about those things. But then we conduct training at the sheriff's office. We brought in some companies that helped us do some trainings with autistic children and autistic adults as far as dealing and children with some mental disabilities. Being able to deal with them in crisis and things like that. And those are just some of the things that literally I just did this at 4 o'clock today. This is just off right off the top of my head. And I can tell you it's been an emphasis in every police department forever. Problem with putting it in policy and trying to say, X, Y, and Z, making it black and white as it changes so fast. I'm sure some of the gentlemen up here can probably remember getting verbal judo classes and things like that, right? We did that back in the day, and it just changes and it evolves as we go. So you can't really policy it. Where you can policy it is that we require our deputies to attend and complete the most up-to-date training available. And we do that continuously. We do it online, we do it in person, we do it scenario-based, and those are things that we continue to do now. Does it always translate over to the call or to the field? No, but we do our best, and we're gonna continue to do that. So whatever is the best practices out there,
Yeah.
that's what we employ.
So, sir, the things that you talked about, really, really good opportunities that you're going through. Is that written into your like officer training?
So some of it is designated by the Maryland Police Training Commission. So, matter of fact, most of it is, because all the use of force now has to have de-escalation in them. They have to have those components in there. You have to have scenario-based training in there. So some of it is mandated
Right.
by them, and whatever isn't is mandated by us. We are pretty proactive in that area with us. We partner with the local mental health authorities. We sit on some of the boards. We're pretty proactive in that area. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Good question.
Yeah, this is
And
a
lot of
really,
the stuff, my staff, training was a big emphasis for me, running for sheriff. And now getting elected, this is something that we accomplished within 8 months of it, and now we're
great.
developing our own training division, so we never had one. That way the deputies get, reoccurring training
Yeah.
as they're working. We're trying to set aside a training day for each shift, for each rotation. So, I think training's key, and I think that's, they've done a great job with that.
yeah,
And I
I agree.
commend them. It was, we put this together pretty quick.
yeah, that's a really fluid situation, and it's, I know that every encounter with the public's unique, but this is even more unique when you, because of the dynamics of the situation you're dealing with.
And a deputy today has a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah,
They have a lot to deal with, and, I think that's where we hit home on our training, so that's moving forward.
Because we take that a step further. We don't just do that with dealing with the public. We try to bring that into our department with our officers. I mean, we have guys that are, and girls that are, just today, I don't know if you know, there was a stabbing in Yardley Hills, right? So we had a deputy in there that provided some life-saving measures, and he went there, what he would have done before, just went right to the next call. We don't necessarily do that anymore. It's new kind of policing. We ensure that those people are okay as well.
good.
So,
Yeah, it saved the guy's life. I know we haven't had an update on the victim, but,
yes, sir.
that's what the medic told me on scene, because we actually went to the scene.
Wow.
So, a long day.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. All right, those are the recommendations. Did we make motion last time to forward these recommendations? I think we did, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, okay. So if you're okay with the body-worn cameras recommendation and the crisis training and de-escalation technique for suicide persons recommendation, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Been moved, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Suzanne. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So these actually go to the sheriff's office for consideration as they review the impact of this with the other details around it. Okay, we have here an update for the past policy recommendation.
For the speeding, the recommendation, our manual's been updated, priority responses, as we talked about, is fluent, and we've changed that too as well, to be in line with the transportation article. The strip searches, we've talked about that too as well. We updated our manual, to be more defined in respect of, who can approve them, where it's done, things of that nature too as well. HIPAA, that's fluent too, no policy change, but however, HIPAA is, included in, our future trainings too as well, here by the end of the year. And, the CALIA, I know this is a big deal for, me and you talking, and I think it's a big deal for our department too as well. And, Lieutenant Colonel Payne did a lot of work with that, and we were able to pull this off, and, we'll be putting that position in place in October.
Fantastic.
We did that on our own without funding. And I commend them too as well. We'll have our CALIA manager starting in October. I'll introduce you in our next meeting. But we've already been in contact with CALIA and their standards, and getting the ball rolling with that. I
Great.
think the process is just under 3 years to get us recertified, so
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal, and we've talked about it in length,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, it's good for our department in the whole, so.
Great.
I did
Appreciate the
enjoy seeing
progress.
that in your newsletter this past quarter, that
We
you
were-
updated
It
that.
just seems like everything's a hurdle, so we're like, we wanna make it happen now, but we were able to, Lieutenant Colonel Payne did a lot of work on it, a lot of legwork that went into it. And again, without funding, we able to did it, under our umbrella in a
Mhm.
sense, if that makes sense.
Is it in we're already in fiscal year 24 right now.
So we
so
were
it's-
hoping to have it done already, and like the sheriff said, we had some hurdles, so, October 7th is gonna be his starting date.
Okay.
He has to take a 30-day break from the county, cause that's the county regulations.
Mhm.
We will, in that 30 days, we'll have the COLIA purchased, there's a purchase price, right? And we'll have it up and running and ready for him as soon as he hits, after his 30-day break. And we should be up and running by the end of the year.
Great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
budget cycle, I guess we would have to address some of
Yeah.
the funding and
But
the.
yeah.
Yeah, don't leave that one out. That's a big piece.
But St. Mary's, Charles County, keep them up to par with them, so I think it's important for us to
I
be on
agree.
that same level.
I agree. Okay. Appreciate the update. Any questions? for-
Also too, Mr. Perrin, the GPS, I already talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
In the works with that too as well. And also the use of electronic devices in the vehicle, we've updated
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
manual
right.
to be up to run parallel with the transportation article.
I think it was just some wording on that one, but we got it fixed.
Great. Thank you.
Any questions for the
Any
board?
questions or comments for the sheriff's team?
I know you've done a great job, and, my emphasis has been keeping the county safe, and we owe it to the people that live here to feel safe to go into the store and back, and they're not gonna be harmed. School starting next week, school's a big deal for me
Mhm.
and the kids, and I know we're gonna do a lot of proactive stuff out there as school starts, next week. So that came up quick on us, but, we'll have deputies out there, protecting our schools, and that's, like I said, that's a big deal for me too as well.
We appreciate what you've done in a short period of time.
Correct. And we're also too, we did, there's a lot of work too as well. We're putting 3 deputies in the elementary schools.
Oh,
We
okay.
never had deputies in the elementary
Right.
schools, and we wanna bring back the DARE program, start some of that, resistance training with the young folks at school, so. I think that's very important to them to identify what they're seeing and hearing out there, and, get some education on that too. So we'll have 3 in the elementary schools,
Okay.
so.
Now, when you had the DARE before, you didn't have DARE in all the elementary schools before.
We taught it in DARE, but, some schools didn't want it, some schools did, and we
Yeah.
taught the ones that want it. All the private schools want it, we teach it there.
Right.
With the elementary and middle school levels.
We're
Okay.
gonna standardize it all the way
So,
around.
yeah, we're looking at one fluent system that works best for our school system.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
necessarily we have to call it DARE, we can make our own kind of, twist on it.
Okay.
But the
What-
kids are most important to me, so I wanna get in the schools and identify some of the issues that we have there and be proactive in it, so.
And we appreciate that
Yes,
effort
sir.
because that's a key to future Calvert County and
Absolutely.
future Maryland and future
It's
world.
good, we got a good academy class that we've done a very hard working and recruiting, deputies in. I know it's a lot of work, it doesn't seem like it, but we have, 7 starting in September. We
Okay.
got 3 graduating, here in October that finished that class, and then, September should graduate around March timeframe, so. It's a struggle recruiting like everybody else, you hear it around the, kind of our world, even in the,
Mhm.
and construction, whatever you talk about, they can't hire people, but, me as the sheriff, I wanna hire the best people that work for you guys.
Yeah. Do you still have the cadet program?
We keep asking for it, but it gets,
Okay.
so we kinda developed in our own cadet
Okay.
program, so a lot of agencies are putting signing bonuses out there. I really can't give signing bonuses, but, what I'm doing now is if we find a good solid recruit, we hire them on early, so you start getting paid, and we have them doing odds ends and stuff like that at the sheriff's office, and, actually just starting learning the job,
Mhm.
as a cadet program does, so.
Okay.
I try to make something out of nothing, but we've hired a couple, recruits already, so kinda semi-cadet program.
Okay.
Very innovative.
Yeah, and so that's,
Yeah, it
kinda
is.
gotta think outside the box.
Got to nowadays.
Yeah,
Tough to get.
yeah.
Gives you a chance to vet them a little bit.
That too.
On the schools, for the high schools, how many officers are there in each high school? Is it one dedicated for each high school,
One in each high school, one in each middle school.
and then 3 floating for the
We
elementaries?
are floating to 3 right now. We need another 10. We're
But if you look at the dynamics or the demographic of our county, so you got Plum Point, that's close to Plum Point Elementary, so you have a deputy that's in walking distance.
Oh, sure,
So you really, I mean, that deputy can handle that in a sense.
right.
Some schools are in the middle of nowhere, so you kinda wanna put a deputy there that, can secure that building if something happens.
Is there a plan to add more to the high
Absolutely.
schools?
We have safety advocates that work for the school board, which are former law enforcement officers.
So our SROs work with those safety advocates pretty regularly.
Okay. I know last year, I have a student that goes to Patuxent, and the fights and the everything, I mean, he would come home every day with stories, and it's, looking at your quarterly reports, you list how many juvenile arrests there are, and that number, when I was in school, that would have been unheard of. It's startling. So I was just wondering,
That's the concerns I have that we would like to address.
I think some of it is a little more overblown. Back when we were in school, if you were in a fist fight, everybody didn't go to jail. It wasn't recorded and all of that. And so I think,
Keep in mind, those numbers will be off too for the next couple of years because we can no longer arrest 12-year-olds and under. So they won't be included in those numbers.
The juvenile reform bill, yeah, prevents that.
wow.
So just know that when you're looking at those numbers, there's gonna be a shift there.
The fact that we've had to do that before, though, is,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
But not in
concerning.
a sense just arrest, we can't even charge them. So if destruction of property inside the school, you can't even,
Oh, good.
you can't even charge them, but, we're working around that. We've had some good talks, so I think that, I'm gonna be as proactive as I can with that.
Okay.
I have a question. So does your SROs have additional training when it comes down to de-escalations in the school system?
Absolutely, yeah. With the
Okay.
school board, all summer they've been doing it.
Mhm.
They have mandated training requirements to be a SRO. I think you have a year to go through the SROs. They have a school for that the state puts on.
We actually use some of them as our lead on some of that for the rest of us.
Yeah.
And they've done great. They have the sheriff camp this summer. I mean, we had almost 100 kids out there. They run that camp. They do a great job with it, with the youth. We had a good turnout this year at Cove Point
Okay.
Park. Yeah, it was great. And building those relationships too as well.
Mhm.
We're not bad. We're not the bad guys. So, so building those relationships with the youth.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our goal. The school year is upon us. But we're going to do a lot of proactive stuff next
Mhm.
week. So
Well, all the best as it starts, so.
right.
What is your annual attrition rate for law enforcement? Roughly.
Right now, we're pretty 10% to 12% probably. Would you say, Brent?
So the 7 that you have, that you're bringing on board, you're basically filling vacancies?
So we will fill all but 2 vacancies, which is around the state. That's pretty good.
That's very
Most
good.
people are holding.
Very good.
But with that said, we are, that was our only 7. We didn't have 8, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whereas when you gentlemen were younger and I was coming on and things like that, we had 300 people over here at the Calvert High
Right.
track
That's right.
trying out for deputy. We have 11 and 12s and 13s now.
Right.
Wow.
So,
Hey, it's real. They're still young though.
So we are on the cusp of being in the same as everybody else. I can tell you, like the Charles County Detention Center, for example, they've got like 36 vacancies or something.
And I'll say this on the record. I think if he gives me, we have a guy or a girl that's interested in being. If you have any interest, I'm willing to talk to you. So.
We've had to change all of our, it's not like it used to be as far as recruiting and things. We bring kids in early, we not call them kids, but we bring them in and we open continuously now. We're not, it used to be you had to be by a certain date, and we had to open everything up just to to get everybody in.
And Mr. Hawkins too, the jail falls under us too as well, our command. So a good platform of, we're trying to draw 18-year-olds in there. They learn the job down there. They start their benefits, they start their retirement, and then hopefully we groom them to be a deputy when they're 21. We've got one starting in the academy that's started there when he's 18, now he's starting the academy.
Oh.
And then we have 2 additional that are interested. I have a meeting tomorrow with one. So as you're looking at numbers, I mean, we're doing good, and I think that's just us being proactive in it. And we have a good board that we can sit down and talk about issues that we have, and my stance of keeping this county safe, and I think we all can agree to that.
Absolutely.
Because we have a lot of stuff that's wild going on around us. I see the daily reports every day, and it's a battle. So I think we're doing a great job out there, and and I just want to say
We
thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Captain Perry, you could come up too, you know that.
Sir, do you need us for anything else? We have another.
No, I think we're good. We only have the one item left, election of the vice chair, so
And we're on to coach 9-year-olds again.
That's our plan.
have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you. Okay, we have, the last item is the election of the PAB vice chair. We put that in the bylaws that we would decide who the vice chair would be. It would be elected on an annual basis. Because when I look at this, I'm chair appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, but, if I had emergency or something and I'm not here, we should have someone designated that can step in for the chair. And we received an email, I know, from Susan Justice expressed, she's not here, she had a family emergency, but she had expressed interest in the vice chair position. And so we need nominations from the floor. You don't need a second, we just need nomination from the floor who do we want to consider for vice chair?
I nominate Susan Justice.
Susan Justice, okay. Susan Justice nomination. Any other nominations?
I nominate Susan.
Dawn Lister was also
You
interested.
nominated
Susan.
Susan Justice? Oh, okay. We already got Susan. And anyone can nominate themselves too in this process. And going, so.
I think it's a rule.
So anyone else?
Were you interested
Well,
too? Please nominate
If
yourself.
Susan's interested, I'll
Okay.
defer to her. That's-
I know you expressed interest in it.
I just expressed interest. If there's somebody else who really would like to do it, then
Okay.
that's fine.
Did anybody else express interest?
I nominate Dawn.
You nominate Dawn? Okay. Dawn and Susan. Do we have any other nomination? Then I'll declare the nominations closed. And we want to vote by show of hands, or how you want to handle it? Show of hands? So we have 8 people here tonight, so this could be quite interesting. Let's see. All in favor of, who would vote for Susan Justice, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. You count 4?
I have 4.
Okay. All in favor of Dawn? 2.
I'm abstaining because I was running.
No. If you want to win, you gotta vote.
It doesn't matter, 'cause there's always.
So it comes down to the chair.
Sorry, sir, under Robert's rules, the chair is not permitted to create a tie.
Okay, then we have 4 to 3. All right, and that means the 4 is the majority, so the vice chair would be Susan Justice. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, sir.
Getting me off the hot seat. Okay. So Susan Justice will be the vice chair. We'll notify Susan. Okay, that's, do we have anything else to come before us? Any comments from the board or board members? On anything? Quiet group, my goodness. Nothing, Lisa? Okay. Okay, then we have, the next item is public comment. And I'll ask our attorney, John Norris, to read the note. There's a modified note from what's on here now.
Thank you, sir. And I did confirm it's Part 5A, parliamentary procedure of the board's bylaws that adopts Robert's rules, so Robert's rules to apply.
That's right.
The Board of County Commissioners adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process at public meetings. Copy is here with me tonight. The Ethics Commission has asked that we remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. While all views and perspectives are welcome during public comment, be aware that speakers are personally responsible for their expressions and comments. It is recommended that speakers refrain from commenting on unsettled claims or complaints and refrain from using names. By Resolution 51-20, any individual or the appointed spokesperson for a group is welcome to address the Police Accountability Board on any matter germane to the business of the board. Persons addressing the board shall not be permitted to make statements or remarks that concern only private activities, lifestyles, or beliefs unrelated to the business of the Police Accountability Board or the professional duties and performance of its employees or the employees of the officials. Persons addressing the board shall refrain from statements, remarks, or conduct that is uncivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive to the conducting of the Accountability Board's business. The floor has been open for public comment, first from persons in the meeting room who begin making their way to the microphone, then those joining virtually. All speakers are asked to identify themselves and whether speaking as an individual, where you'll be allocated 2 minutes, or as the appointed spokesperson of a group, where you'll be allocated 5. For those attending virtually, if you wish to speak, please press *9 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual speakers will be identified by the last 4 digits of their phone number or screen name and unmuted one at a time. And if necessary, you may unmute yourself by pressing *6. Anyone in the room wish to speak?
Anyone in the room? Okay.
And there are 3 members of the public that have joined us virtually, but nobody has raised their hand.
So they need to identify themselves and,
They would need to use the raise their hand function at the bottom of the screen, because they all appear to be joining by computer,
okay,
and no one has.
okay. There, at this time, there's no public comment. Then I'll entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
It's been moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? We adjourn.
Yay.
Thank you very much. Thank everyone.